As a younger person, I would have visited older people, either in nursing homes or long-stay care. I'd often have gone with my father, either to a relative or a friend. And it always struck me how sad it was to see how isolated they were, that there was no conversation going on, there was nothing interesting happening, nothing stimulating happening. And I'd always had that at the back of my mind. I became a speech and language therapist as well as a sister of charity. And after 30 years of full-time in speech therapy, I wanted to branch out into something else that would still use those skills. So I began putting it together, and I had 4 different locations where I was trying it out. And not only did the staff love it, but the individual patients or residents loved it. And the staff could see a different side to the residents when more life came into them. The word sonus means well-being, joy, contentment. It's an Irish word, which I specifically chose in order to give it a flavour that I wanted it to have. But it represents what I hope will be the feeling of people when they have taken part in it. APC stands for Activating Potential for Communication. This is not something you can do directly. You do it indirectly by creating the conditions for communication. And all of the ingredients in the programme contribute to the creation of those conditions. It's also a way of showing that the Sonus programme is not an entertainment. It's there for a purpose, and the purpose is communication. There are a lot more sides to communication, actually, than people sometimes think. The obvious one is verbal communication, the words we use, the language we use, the sentences we use, how we express ourselves in those words. But there's first of all, there is another side that doesn't involve saying anything at all, and that is listening. That for communication, it has to be two-way. There has to be participation and listening. So going on then to another form of communication, which we rate very highly in the Sonus programme, is non-verbal communication. And that is how well people can interact with each other and relate to each other and connect with each other without using words at all. We were able to record it and make a kit out of it, so that in 1991 I thought, well, if people are going to use this, they'll need a bit of instruction. So just a 3-hour, half-day workshop was all it started with. So I made 3 different dates for workshops in Dublin. Now, I also felt that I needed to see to the continuity of it into the future. So I spoke to a businessman, and he, as a businessman, said, you'd have to set it up as a company. And that eventually came about a few years later. And that certainly has kept the whole concept alive.
What really caught me just was that activating the potential for communication. This is something that is needed, but it sustains itself because of what it does, because it brings together people. It develops relationships. It brings the person back into the centre, around their senses. Sister Mary was really trying to, she had consolidated, like she had international people working with her. We started having conversations, and where she was looking for somebody to lead the organisation because she wanted to concentrate on some of the programmes. And it was finding Sinead.
There's been a huge amount of change in dementia over the past 20 years. When Mary devised the Sonus programme, she was really ahead of her time. There was at the time a medical model of care, so dementia was regarded as damage in the brain and then symptoms. And then in 1997, Tom Kitwood, a psychologist, brought out a book called Dementia Reconsidered, which defined person-centered care. And ever since then, that's been the approach, and it's grown from there. So dementia is much more than damage in the brain. It's about the environment, it's about people, a person's life story, their personality. So I suppose that struck me about Mary and the approach to dementia. Engaging Dementia then over the years grew and expanded. So we began with the SONUS programme, and then over the years we worked with people at other stages of dementia, living in residential care, in the community, working in gardens, in sensory stimulation. And in 2018 we changed our name to Engaging Dementia to better reflect the breadth of our work.
Its impact on living well, or living well with dementia, and with people living well at home. The whole concept of the rights of individuals, wherever they are on their life path, has become central. But also, Engaging Dementia has focused much more on supporting the individual. So it is the individual, one person at a time.
The SONUS programme was a key part of the offering, but we needed to diversify into other areas of dementia care. We got the opportunity to become involved in running the Alzheimer Cafe network in Ireland, and then also community projects such as Dementia Friendly Gardens at Bloom, which were a great opportunity for SONUS and Engaging Dementia to demonstrate knowledge and expertise in the area and diversify the product.
There was a huge amount of work going on in Ireland and internationally on dementia. As more research was being done, understanding was growing, and we wanted to give people in Ireland an opportunity to come to an event where they would learn, where we could showcase what was happening internationally, and they'd have an opportunity to network with each other. So we decided to hold a dementia conference, which was then an annual international dementia conference, and it grew from year to year, and it's still the largest international dementia event in Ireland.
So I think Engaging Dementia has kind of a lovely mix of two different types of things. It has thought leadership through our conference and seminars, the panel of experts that work with us, and looking abroad, far and wide, learning what works well, what doesn't, what can we be doing more of. But it also has practical tools and resources, things that people can use in day-to-day life. And that's the mix that makes Engaging Dementia special.
I met a woman in a nursing home who told me about her experience of living with dementia. She had been in AA as a young woman and found it really helpful, and asked me was there anywhere she could go to meet other people who were living with dementia. There was nowhere at that time in Ireland. Mary had told me about the Alzheimer Cafe, which was psychosocial support for people living with dementia and their families. So I decided to introduce one in Ireland. I got a team together and we launched the Alzheimer Cafe Donnybrook, which was fantastic, really successful, and then others began springing up all over Ireland. So then over the years, we were involved, we mentored.
Sinead was involved in the steering committee of the very first Alzheimer Cafe, which was based in Donnybrook. So she invited me to come along with my dad and my mum. So we did, and I have to say it was a most amazing experience. We didn't really know a lot about dementia, we didn't know a lot about the services. And anybody that looks after a person with dementia will know that it's very socially isolating. So the biggest impact was on my mum, who couldn't bring dad out very much anymore. Her circle of friends was shrinking. So we went to the Alzheimer Cafe and it was an absolute revelation. My dad loved it. A very safe environment for him. He could say what he wanted. He could sit and have a cup of tea. And for my mum, she met an awful lot of people who were going through a similar experience. So they were able to talk about the experience. And a big thing for us was the fact that there was a lot of professionals working in the area of dementia who were at that Alzheimer Cafe. So you could ask them questions that you might not otherwise ask them, in a formal setting. So because it was informal, you could have a chat and say, oh, this happened yesterday, I don't know how to deal with it. They were brilliant at giving tips.
A lot of work was done in the area of dementia and design, and how the design of an environment can really influence how a person experiences it. So we decided to collaborate with the Trinity House Research Centre in Trinity College Dublin and Newtown Saunders Limited, a landscape garden company, to design and build a dementia garden in bloom. So that was the first dementia garden that had ever been in bloom. It was a wonderful initiative to be involved in. We had an opportunity to meet tens of thousands of people and really share that message about dementia. When the COVID restrictions came in, we could no longer hold any of our training events. So we decided to move everything online. We adapted the SUNS course to become an online training program. We delivered CST online. Our conference, we delivered as a fully virtual event over 2 days with 80 speakers across plenary sessions, workshops, parallel sessions, and it was really successful. The Dementia Cafe, all Dementia Cafes had to be suspended. So we decided to develop a virtual Dementia Cafe, and we held that Dementia Cafe every Friday morning from April right through to now.
So people have really responded, and the team have really responded. In addition, we worked with Joyce Fitzpatrick to bring in joy sessions. And so it's really been, I suppose, a company adapting to adverse circumstances and coming out the other side. So really proud of what the team has done over the last year.
So I think it allowed us to reach a really broader community, people who hadn't been at a conference or at trainings before. They were able to connect online, people in different parts of the country that might not necessarily have travelled.
When the pandemic arrived in Ireland and lockdown happened, we got together as a team, because we are quite a close-knit team and always have been, really carrying the light from Sister Mary. I really feel like she embedded that in all of us, and we carry that. We don't just work for a company.
The COVID-19 pandemic increased the isolation of people living with dementia and their care partners. So in 2021, Engaging Dementia continued with the online Dementia Cafe every other Friday. And it's a lovely place where people come together in a very supportive community, and they really enjoy those sessions. The Bringing Joy sessions were launched early in the year. These were to support people that are working in nursing homes. So we have a monthly webinar with different topics and ad hoc networking events so that people can support each other and give each other ideas. We also launched the Joys of Home in the spring. This was to do the same thing for people that are caring in the home, again with monthly webinars and networking events. On top of this, Engaging Dementia has also developed a lot of online resources, videos that can be found on the Engaging Dementia YouTube channel. And we've developed a range of relaxing music playlists on Spotify in a lot of different music genres. So we've tried to do everything we could to support people even more in 2021.
The staff in the nursing homes had been looking for ideas, for things to do to engage with the residents. It's not that easy to come up with ideas for people who are all different personalities and different stages on their dementia journey. So I really enjoyed it. It was about drawing out the joy that is there.
In 2021, we also launched a couple of dementia-inclusive gardening workshops. There's a Garden to Remember for people in nursing homes, and also one for people living in the home.
I think that people are very frustrated after being indoors, and there was a lot of isolation and a lot of loneliness. And for people with dementia, some had actually switched off. I feel that the garden inclusive sessions worked really well because we were out in the garden and people were encouraged to be actively involved in making decisions about the garden, and some were actively engaged in the gardening itself.
Engaging Dementia is really proud to be one of the 2020 Charity Impact Award winners in the medium organization category. Since there were over 150 entrants, it's really a big tribute to the whole Engaging Dementia team. Our entry focused on how Engaging Dementia tries to replace loneliness and isolation with communication and engagement for people living with dementia. Those are the core values of the organization.
A bit like the SUNS programme, I always thought something better will crop up. It'll take its place, and that'll be the end of it. But that has never happened. And I think it's a bit the same with the company. To my knowledge, it's the only company that has run continuous training over the years, and an excellent international conference. So it has contributed a lot already.
I think where Engaging Dementia are sitting now is central, but it's moving that out further because there are a lot of people impacted by dementia. It's not just the individual, it's their families, it's their community. So how do we build sustainable communities? And I think that's really one of the pieces that we will be doing at Engaging Dementia into the future.
If this pandemic has shown us anything, it's that people with dementia really need our services to help them enhance their lives and help them live a meaningful life with dementia. And I think that Engaging Dementia is going to be a key part of that going forward.
Engaging Dementia is very well established now and recognised in Ireland as an organisation at the heart of psychosocial approaches and supports for people living with dementia and their families. I see it growing over the years, becoming more embedded and being at the heart of initiatives like the Dementia Cafe and the SONUS programme, so that wherever people with dementia live, whether it be in the community or in residential care, they have an opportunity to avail of supports and approaches that will enrich their quality of life.
I think Engaging Dementia is in a position that it can offer even greater support and advice to people on the dementia journey.
Now, as a team, we can face anything together, and we can find more ways to bring communication and sensory awareness to more people.